So your question, Matt, was, I'm aware of trusts and more sophisticated taxation planning for family businesses and when income starts to increase. Whilst this doesn't apply to me yet, what advice can you give as to when trusts would be best arranged, that is trigger point? What is there to consider? What do I look out for in a person, professional, to assist in setting up one, to consider at this very early stage, that is big picture considerations? Thanks for the question. There's a fair bit in that question and I'll try to address it as best I can, Matthew. But one of the key points is, if I just drop down to this investment structure diagram, the trigger point in time for starting a trust is when you can get greater benefit by holding assets within a trust, because you can distribute the earnings within the trust rather than accepting the income in your own name. So in terms of the options, when you've got a lump of money or got some surplus funds to invest, you can invest in your own name, joint names, trust, company, and superannuation. And the superannuation has two phases, the accumulation phase and pension phase. If you look at the income that's derived from the investment, if you've got a low income earning spouse, then you can potentially utilise some of their actually this shouldn't be 6,000, it should be 18,200 now, so this is actually an old slide. This should say 0 to 18,200, but with a low income tax offset it's effectively 20,500, or if you're over 55 it's 23,500 that you can earn without paying any tax. So utilise the low income earner's spouse first. Then you've got to assess whether it's worthwhile utilising a trust. So the pros are that you can distribute to a range of beneficiaries, and for someone from a Christian background, often you can distribute to a church or charitable organisation prior to paying tax, so that's an effective way to do it. But you've got to look at the cost of setting it up versus the benefit, so having sufficient assets to warrant that. Generally, never recommend investing in a company, but then depending on how close you are to your preservation age, which is generally between 55 for someone currently around 55, and it's increasing up to 60. So if you're close to that age, then you'll access your superannuation money. You'll have access to your super money soon. So utilising that superannuation structure can actually provide a greater benefit than a trust structure. And so it really depends on where you can get at what point in time, and what's the trigger point for you to start a trust. And the key thing is, have you got sufficient beneficiaries to distribute to? So you can distribute to children, but if they're minors, you can only distribute like $400 these days. So it really gets down to your tax rates. If you're looking at investing and negatively gearing, then you might want to put it into the higher income earner's name, because then you can get the tax benefits of that. So it's not quite a simple and straight answer, but over time I guess you assess what point in time you should look at different structures, and whether that be trusts. There are other options like first home savers accounts for kids, there are insurance bonds, there's annuities, so there are other range of options as well, and it's a matter of assessing those and what's the right one for you over time. So sorry I can't be much more clearer on that one, but yeah, sorry I can't be more specific, but it's really assessing what's the right structure to invest in at any point in time. In terms of their question about what I look for in a person or professional, you can, I guess if you're looking bigger picture wise and forward thinking, a financial advisor is really a good person to talk to. If you know which structure you want to invest in, then speak to an accountant as well. They can actually help you with the process of setting up the trust and going through that structure as well. Depends on whether you want the investment advice as well. I guess a good starting point is a professional financial advisor. What to look for in a person, I guess the whole point is really having trust in that person and in their ethics and their professionalism, and often you can get that through referrals. If somebody else has utilised them in the past and been satisfied with the results, you can't really go past a referral. Hopefully that addresses your question there, Matthew.